Hello, I don't usually do this at the beginning, I usually wait to the end, but if you can subscribe, that would be fantastic. I'm trying to get to 1,000 and that would be great, and now that I'm 70, and thank you very much and hope you enjoy the video. Hello, Jennifer and I have just returned from a fantastic 2-month road trip to Portugal, and we did 2,250 miles in our Tesla Model 3 standard range. I'll tell you exactly what the costs were per mile, the EV charging costs, the overall kilowatt per hours and the watts per mile, as well as the ferry prices to Spain and back again, Airbnb costs, toll road costs, and the overall cost of the 2-month trip starting from Cornwall. If we're driven all the way to the Algarve, you can see the Tesla superchargers all the way through France, Spain and Portugal. Tesla superchargers in the UK are 50p a kilowatt hour. I'm sure when we left they were 57, but maybe supercharger prices have come down as well as the Tesla cars. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it was 57p, but I've just checked now. Many of them are 50p and some are as low as 40p in the early hours of the morning or the non-peak times. Now Spain, the cost, it was equivalent to 47p a kilowatt hour. In Portugal at 38p a kilowatt hour, and that's a lot less than they are in the UK. Also, once in the Algarve, I used the Mio app, depositing €20, and found some very cheap, slower public charging near where we were staying. And we also had 5 free destination charges during the trip, 1 on the way down and 4 coming back. The toll rolls in Portugal added up to £51, but totally worth every euro on quite great dual carriageway roads when you just wanted to get from A to B. But there was some beautiful, fantastic scenery en route. The Airbnb prices varied a bit. The cheapest we had was £37 a night. We had that one for a night. That was a 1-bed apartment, had a kitchen, sea view, distant sea view, 5 minutes walk to an amazing beach at Galé, and also only 2 minutes walk from a lovely local supermarket. Always something very important when you're choosing an Airbnb. Obviously most of them were dearer, but some of them had free destination charges, which I always like a lot. The return fare from Portsmouth to Santander on the Brittany Ferry cost us £1,060. That's for 2 people, 1 car, and it includes 2 nights in a cabin with a window going out and 1 night coming back, and that included free food, breakfast, evening meals and daytime snacks. We paid a little bit extra for the Commodore Club, and that was included in the £1,060. Plymouth to Santander would suit us better, but they don't operate that route in the winter. It's only 20 hours and it's just 1 night each way. So the total cost for the 2,250 mile trip in our Tesla Model 3 LFP battery standing range charging was £215 and gave an average cost per mile of only 9.5p. Now driving to the Algarve, the price per mile was 10.6 a mile, but returning we managed to get a few more free destination charges, bringing the price down quite nicely. The 9.5p a mile cost of our Tesla Model 3 was reduced because of free destination charging, or some free destination charging. It wasn't all free. Most of the time we went to superchargers, but that's the real world, and half the price of the 20p a mile of what the RAC say a diesel car in the UK achieves, and less than the RAC claim charging an EV at home costs. Majority of charging was at Tesla superchargers, and again we more than half the price of charging an EV at rapid charging according to the RAC. So we used 256 kilowatt hours and 252 watts per mile, giving a real world range of 198 miles. Now that's only 78% of the 254 miles fully charged that Tesla say we should do, but in practice I was always ready for a stop after 100 miles, and many Tesla superchargers are only about 100 miles apart, occasionally longer and sometimes less. Since we've had the Tesla 18 months, we've driven 14,000 miles, and the averaging is 244 watts per mile, and that equates to 205 miles real world range. So driving the legal limit of 75 miles an hour on toll roads down through Spain and Portugal harmed the real world range, as driving around locally at slower speeds we often got 250 miles and more in the real world range. At no point during the trip did we feel we needed the long range Model 3, as the standard range was more than adequate for the Tesla superchargers in Spain and Portugal, as they are in the UK. So the total costs of the 8-week road trip are: EV charging cost £215. That surprised me how little that was. EU breakdown was £96. It's debatable whether you need it, because the Tesla have their own breakdown, but according to the Tesla Club, they did say if something happens that is someone else's responsibility and isn't covered by the Tesla guarantee, then you may have to pay. So I thought £96 quite reasonable. Now the toll roads were £51, that more than worth it in looking at the wonderful scenery. Brittany Ferry was £1,060. B&B hotels was the biggest cost for Booking.com, Airbnb, £4,050, and eating out was £450. We mostly cooked our own food and bought drink from the supermarkets, which was much cheaper than in the UK, and we haven't included that though. The biggest cost was accommodation. It always had a kitchen, but varied from a budget price from £37 a night to 4 or 5 stars, and we could have reduced that number if we'd really wanted to. What's interesting is how little the EV charging away from home is compared to all the other costs. Lots of figures there, lots of details. Interesting that the RAC costs for charging an EV in this country, we managed to go on a road trip and do it very similar, charging at superchargers and public chargers and not charging at home. Yes, it's true we did have some destination chargers, but it was only a fraction of the trip. And even if we hadn't, it still would have been cheaper charging in Portugal and Spain than it was in the UK, sadly, like so many things. And of course, what the RAC says for charging a rapid charger, the cost is much less in the real world. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you can like and subscribe. See you next time, and please don't forget to use your reusable mug wherever you go. Please leave a comment below. Thanks ever so much. Bye now.